So we talked about the 3 rules, and these are the 3 rules I live by, which is number 1 reason, what's best for our patient. Number 2 reason, what's going to protect me from a liability situation. And if I follow the first 2 rules, I'm allowed to make money. So a little bit disconcerting to me was some of the calls and some of the emails I got from dentists out there wondering, did I really make the right decision? And there's even some reports out there that a lot of the dentists over the age of like 60, 65 years old are thinking, okay, I've had enough, I'm going to throw in the towel and that's it. I just can't take this aggravation anymore. I've got to wear all of this PPE stuff now, and I really don't understand how I'm going to keep on going forward to make a living at being a dentist. There's a couple of things that are going to start to change. The business of dentistry is going to change a little bit because the cost of dentistry is starting to go up. Now, the cost of dentistry is not going up as much as we think from an equipment standpoint. The cost of dentistry is going to go up from a time standpoint. So let's divide those 2 things. The equipment that's required to treat patients and the time that's required to treat patients. So the equipment required to treat patients, for the most part, really hasn't changed that much. Now we're going to have to add a face shield, and we're going to have to take off our gowns in between patients, but that cost is negligible to the time. So again, we're dividing this in between 2 things, equipment and time. The equipment, there's going to be some additional cost to treat patients, and we're going to be able to absorb that or start to raise our fees an extra $10 or $15 or $20 per procedure, but it's going to be a negligible amount to the time. So let's talk about the time next. So let's talk about the time. We talked about the equipment already, and we realize there's going to be some cost, but the time, that's kind of the tough one right now for us. It's going to take us longer to do a lot of the procedures just because going from operatory to operatory, we have to take the gown off and put the gown on. So let's just pretend that we're going to add an additional 5 to 10 minutes per procedure. And we'll go on the high side, an extra 10 minutes per procedure. And if we do 10 procedures per day, we've added 100 minutes worth of time. So a little over an hour and a half. And depending what you're trying to bill out at per hour, somewhere between $500 and $1,000 an hour, that additional time to see patients is going to cost us somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000. That's a lot of money. So how do we overcome that? We have to start charging more for our procedures. But since we don't really know how much additional time it's going to take to do some of the procedures, we don't really know how much we have to raise our fees. So our goal in the beginning is not to so much worry about, am I getting paid enough to cover the cost of the equipment? Am I getting paid enough to cover the cost of the additional time? The most important thing, at least for the next couple of months, is to save our practice. And the way we're going to save our practice is by being honest with our patients, educating our patients, being patient with our patients. Once the patients understand, and they will, that we truly do like them, we truly have their interest in mind, they're going to maintain their loyalty to us, and we're going to be able to maintain our businesses. 3 to 6 months from now, we're going to be able to figure out how much more money we spent in equipment and how much more money we spent in time treating patients, and we're going to be able to adjust our fees accordingly. But that's not going to be until after this is a little bit farther along the line. So the soft opening, what does it mean money-wise to your dental office? How are you going to pay your bills? I've heard that question so many times in the last couple of days, it's actually breaking my heart. So right now we're in preservation mode. We're going to be seeing our patients. We're going to be seeing patients for emergency and urgent care. We're not going to be making the same profit that we were making 2 months ago. It's just impossible. There's just too many variables that we need to overcome. So for the next month, in preservation mode, we're going to start to see patients. We're going to learn how to treat our patients again. And if we can start getting money coming into the office, enough to pay the overhead, that's our goal. Just to pay the overhead for the next 30 days. Because if we don't get going soon, the rent is still due. The insurance, still due. The lease payments for a lot of the equipment, if the dental companies haven't been nice and tried to renegotiate that, are still due. Credit card payments, still due. Everything is still due. We need to get money coming in to start covering the overhead. Once we learn how to treat patients 15 to 30 days from now, then we can start ramping up our production and we can start making a profit again. But for the next 30 days, be in preservation mode. So preservation mode means a couple of different things. On one side, it's the things that we can control, which is how we're spending money in our dental practice and trying to get open, even if it's a soft opening, to get revenue coming in. And then we have our friends at the government. And not to speak too much about politics, but our government, in their crazy little quirky ways, are trying to help us with the payroll protection plan. Now, one of the things I did for my business, which is Smile Perfected, is the very first day that it became available, I stayed up until midnight on Thursday night leading into Friday so that I can be the first person to apply. Well, it turns out it wasn't even available on Friday at midnight. So then the following day, I'm talking to my personal banker at Chase, and he tells me, lucky for me, that the application was going to be available in 15 minutes. So I'm on my computer hitting refresh, refresh, refresh. And I was one of the first guys to get on that. But one of the things I did in preparation for that is I made sure that I had all the documentation that I thought the PPP program would be needing. So I had all of that stuff, and I had it formatted in two different ways. I had each of the documents as their own separate PDF file, and then I had all the documents as one grand PDF file. And then I had a third set of documents, one which was the payroll, and then my income tax. Whether they needed it or not, I didn't really know. So I started having all these combinations, permutations for the documents. So when the bank actually called me to go through the loan process, and they called me on Sunday after the initial offering of the PPP, which was Friday a couple of weeks ago, I was able to submit all the documents to Chase, sign the loan documents by 3 o'clock in the afternoon on Sunday afternoon. So I thought I was finished. I thought I'd be getting the money on Monday or Tuesday. A week later is when I finally got funded by the SBA and the government through the PPP and Chase. So I was one of the few small businesses that I know that got funded as quickly as we did. Thank goodness. So there's going to be more money. And what you really need to do is be ready to go. So who do you really want to be friendly with? And if you haven't done this yet, you need to start concentrating on this going forward, because there may be even additional funding later on down the road. So depending on your state or your region or where you are in the whole process, your accountant and your banker have got to become your best friend. And if they're not, they should be, because you need to be able to access that information quickly and be able to send it off in a moment's notice. If you're relying on your accountant to do your application for your PPP, you're going to be very frustrated, and it's unlikely with all the other clients that your accountant has that accountant is going to be able to put you to the top of the list. So take control of your own destiny. Apply for these government programs. The money is there. A lot of the states have emergency relief funds that may not be able to, you may not be able to access as much money as the PPP, but you're going to be able to access some money. So in the state of Florida, they have a couple of different programs. And from talking to dentists, from all your questions, a lot of the states and a lot of the regions have other programs which will start to take away some of the burden of maintaining your practice. Because remember, for the first couple of months, it's about preservation. So do what you can on the practice side. Do a soft opening, start to see emergency and urgent care patients, limit the amount of money that you're spending, and on the government side, access all the programs that are there to help you. One of the things that I offer is my personal cell number, 954-683-2693. And the reason I do that is because not only do dentists have questions about the soft reopening of their dental practice, I have dental hygienists, dental assistants, and administrative assistants from dental offices call me. And their number one question, their number one concern is, I'm afraid to come to work. And not only am I afraid to come to work because of the COVID-19 virus, I'm afraid that if I do go to work, because I need the money, what does it mean to me and my family when I go home? Am I going to bring the infection home with me? And am I going to make my family sick? And it's a legitimate concern. So let's talk about that. Okay, because if we don't talk about that, our imagination is not our best friend. So what we need to do is we need to have a serious meeting with our office team, and we need to address every single question. And the reason we're having a soft opening is because we have to relearn how to treat our patients. So I've outlined a number of steps that need to go forward. And if we follow those steps, we're going to be really, really well protected. But knowing that I've given all these different steps out there, and I've gotten so many questions in the form of a telephone call or an email or reaching out to us through Facebook, I realize that the concern is still there. So let's look at some of the facts that are out there. If we make the assumption that every patient that we treat is COVID-19 positive, what it's going to do psychologically for us is make sure that every single time we interact with that patient, we're making the assumption that they have the disease, and we're going to be very careful on how we interact with them. So if you knew for sure that somebody was COVID-19 positive and they didn't have the antibodies yet, and they were shedding COVID-19 virus, how would you treat them? Well, the first thing you would do is you'd make sure you keep your distance, and you'd make sure you wear a mask, and you'd make sure that anything that they touched, you wouldn't touch, or you wouldn't touch it until that area was disinfected. So one of the things that the office team needs to understand is the false security that they're going to get by taking a patient's temperature, doing a health history, allowing patients to come in staggered. All of it's great stuff, but we still have to make the assumption that they're positive. And if we make the assumption that they're positive, we're going to be very careful on how we interact with them. So if we make the assumption that every patient is COVID-19 positive, and we follow all the outlines that I've presented over the course of all these videos, we're going to be safe. And the moment that we don't make that assumption is when we start to put ourselves, our office team, and their families in danger. When you go to the grocery store, what do? You wear a mask and you keep your distance because you don't know who in that grocery store is positive. You have to treat your dental office exactly the same way. Now, the best part about the dental office is we're able to wear our PPE. We're able to create a personal protection barrier between us and our patients. So you're actually safer in a dental office than you are almost any place else in society. So the fear, it's important to acknowledge, it's important to discuss, but what your office team is going to understand once you've kind of explained this to them and you've done a soft opening where you're not trying to rush through the patients, they're going to understand very quickly that they're safer in their dental office than they are any place else. Don't dismiss the fears, talk about the fears, answer the questions, and move forward. So what I do know is that all of us as professionals, we have questions and we want answers. We want legitimate, real kind of answers that we can actually hang our hat on. And what a lot of our dental societies are worried about is they're being so political and they're trying to make sure that they give these broad general answers when really all I want to know is, what am I going to do next week when I start my dental office? Just give me the checklist that I can go through. Now, there have been some state dental societies that have reached out to me and they've decided to adopt the outline that I've created to help the dentists of their state start to open in the next couple of weeks. I know that everything I'm telling you is the right way forward. Now, there may be some little nuances that need to be changed for a particular practice size, but I know we're on to the right thing. And the best part about this is I've interacted with so many dentists, hygienists, assistants, and admins, and I've interacted with them in a couple of different ways. Phone number, 954-683-2693. Please call me. It's right here. I'm available. Literally is my cell number. If you feel more comfortable reaching out to me via email, it's wbalanoff@smileperfected.com. That's WBALANOFF@smileperfected.com. If you want to download some of the forms, go to smileperfected.com and click on the What's New area over there, and you'll be able to see all of it. It's all out there for you, and it's all for free, and we never charge for any of this stuff. So let's work together.